Hey folks,
Hey, I'm Jordan.
I'm Chris with PDQ.com.
So today we're going to talk about signing your scripts.
Yes, so get your pens out.
Yeah, and that way, if anyone ever steals it, you have proof that it's not theirs.
It's true. So we'll get our autographs out, to sign them. So I'm sorry, you're going to hear a lot of jokes about that probably throughout the show. So I apologize in advance, mostly for me, but not for you. So anyway,
Yeah, it hasn't gotten old for us yet. I can't imagine it's old for them. It's new.
I love puns and dad jokes. Nothing gets old to me.
All right, so overall, the reason we want to go over this is there's a good chance or a growing chance that your domain admins have set an execution policy that limits that limits how you're able to run scripts. There's
Awesome.
There's different policies. You have undefined, which I think by default goes to remote signed. Then there's remote signed, which means anything remote requires a signature. Anything local is fine. All signed means everything has to be signed.
Okay.
Bypass kind of just ignores the levels below it and just runs.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah. And the last one is just undefined, which I believe defaults to remote signed.
Yeah, and so for those of you who have been around the block with PowerShell a bit, you may know about these and may know enough about these, but it's something to call out that, especially if you're getting new into PowerShell and you try and run a script or you're trying to do something and PowerShell, the engine, slaps you on the wrist and says, can't do that. Well, you're going to have to kind of familiarize yourself with the different levels here of scope and how they're defined.
Yeah, and so on top of the scope, there's different levels. So if you use the set execution policy, you can define basically for user or machine a different policy than what's in there. But as you see on the list here, the highest one has the highest priority. So if that one's set, it is going to take precedence. So if you have AllSigned set based on machine or user policy, which means it came from group policy, that's going to override everything else. And in the case of, like with our products, our PowerShell goes over the process level. So we bypass the current user local machine, but if you have an AllSigned set by group policy and you're using your own PowerShell, we sign the ones that we have there, but using your own, if it's not signed, that script is going to fail.
You're going to have a bad tag.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just kind of a quick breakdown on different layers. So, yeah, machine user, our policy,
Okay.
set by group policy, everything else is set by you. Process means it's just running basically in the background.
How do I change that?
Change the machine policy or the user one?
If I'm getting started and I want to change my local thing right here, how do I change that?
If you want to change it, it's just set-execution policy.
It's easy.
And then you want to set what the policy is. It'll on there. We're going to set.
Look at all those. They're ready for you.
We'll set all signed, and then you can set the scope for on what level.
Ooh, that's super fancy.
Yeah, and then this. I mean, you can say policy, but not the group policy. If it's set on policy level, that's going to be overwritten.
It's going to overwrite. Yeah.
We'll just set current user this time.
Am I sure?
Yeah, I am sure that we want some extra security.
Cool. How do I verify that? Oh.
Go to list and we go back there. Now we can see the current user is also all signed with my nicely straight line there.
I like it.
I'm not crossing out local machine. That's an underline.
We're done with this one. Well, that's good. I like it.
All right. So now that we know how you can set it, so it requires you to be signed. I guess you need to figure out how to create your own signatures. So within Active Directory, there is a certificate authority that you can install and use. It requires enterprise and domain level access. I requested that, and they said, and I quote, "I'm not letting baby Huey in my network."
Why would they do that?
Because enterprise has a lot of authority, and
They don't want Jordan having it.
I can't be trusted with it. So there is a built-in, or you can install it through command line and install certificates that way, and I would recommend that one. But if you don't have that authority, like say they won't give you enterprise admin, then you're going to have to build your own.
Okay.
Right. So the best option for that is there's a commandlet in PowerShell. So I'm just copying it over there.
We like copy and paste.
Yep. It's just new self-signed certificate.
Sure.
All right, and then you have the subject where you basically name what your cert's going to be named. I have CN equals in there because all of the documentation examples on Microsoft's site have it, but it says right on there that CN equals is implied, so you don't need it. I'm following what the documentation says.
For those, again, who've been around the block, you might be familiar with the command make cert, or the application make cert, rather, that comes bundled with the Windows SDK, probably the .NET SDK. it's the same command that they just kind of wrapped PowerShell with the set. Excuse me, wow, I'm looking at the screen. Set execution policy. Not that. Talking about the new self-signed certificate, but it's the same command, which is why cn equals whatever the subject name is. You'll see that a lot in a lot of the examples across the web. But just like Jordan said, just you don't need to if you don't want to.
Yeah. So all the documentation from Microsoft is going to have the commands basically in the make cert version instead of the PowerShell version, and I stuck with examples there, but I mean, it is easier if you do it by the actual command. So I have we want to name it specifically as this cert is for signing code.
Okay.
So I have text extension, and then you have these two numbers here.
I don't do maths. What are those?
Those are OID numbers, and they're basically what tells you what you're looking for.
Oh, ID numbers.
OID.
Sorry.
So basically, the first one, the 2.5.29, that basically identifies it as, I'm reading it, so I don't have this memorized. Enhanced key usage, which is definitely words. But mostly what it means is it gives you access to the second part, the 1.3.6, which is that one equals code signing. I think if you change the 3 to a 2, it becomes like a time server, and a 4 is like email signing. So this just tells it what type of cert you're creating. You can just do -type and space, and it will give you all of those.
Yes.
If you want to, but I'm following the examples that the writer gave me. So yeah, -type is definitely easier. I'm just, I'm a stickler for documentation.
Well, one of the good things about this, what he's talking about, is so when we're typing, so the command here, new self-signed certificate, he's talking about if you type in here at the thing with the stuff, new self-signed certificate, and look at the parameters that are available, look for type, and then it gives you a list of all the ones that are most common that you can use out of the box. That's what he's talking about, but just be aware, that's great and all fine and dandy, but if you want more control over that, the way that he's showing you is the way to go. So.
Yeah, so it gives you more in depth, but it involves a lot more reading.
Numbers.
Yep, numbers. Oof. And last one is just you're saying where the cert is going to be.
Okay.
So it's a cert. We're doing current user and then my, which is basically your personal cert location.
So what is this cert : /?
I think it's taking the user space to cert, so it loads similar to when you load the registry or anything like that. You just basically say, and I'm going to the cert workspace.
Yeah, so providers, again, for you guys at home, we're talking about PowerShell providers so that you can interact with different things like the file space or the registry, as he said, or the cert store. You can actually interact with the same commandlets like copy item, move item, do the things with item, whatever, the same way.
Yep. So I'm just going to assume it's going to work.
Hey.
There we go. We have built the cert. So if we actually open up the cert here.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see. I like to give things names that really inspire confidence. So just MMC, I go to File and add a snap-in.
He's so old school, it's amazing. You can just go to the Start menu and start typing cert, and it'll pop up the option for manage user certs or machine certs. You can go right to this, but...
Apparently, I didn't do any cleanup.
Oh, cool. Those look appropriate.
Expiration date was the day before.
I don't
know. That is a good point. The default when you build a new cert is it will expire in 1 year, but there are some flags. I think that's before and after, or 1 second.
He's going to find it.
Yeah, not after.
There we
which
go.
means to work and not before, which you can basically set. So if you don't want it to be active and live right away, you can set those dates on there. But by default, it's active right away and lasts for a year.
Good.
All right, so now we have the cert, but I guess first we should showcase that.
Okay, so we set our execution policy to AllSigned. What that means, correct me if I'm wrong here,
Yeah.
It means that any script that you're trying to run on this machine now needs to be signed in order for it to actually run. Not ad hoc commands, but even before you save this, if you were to run this, it will run. It's not a script. It's considered an ad hoc command at this point. But
We save as.
save it to something fancy here. We got it. Trustworthy. That sounds trustworthy.
And it's not a virus and it's trustworthy. What could go wrong here?
I know.
Now if we try to just run it, we get the error down here, which is it cannot be loaded because it is not digitally signed.
Yep.
And even when it is in a script like that, you can still just highlight that and press F8. It's basically saying it can't run a script. It trusts what you're typing in to run.
Yeah.
So that's why if you download something and you try to run it without reading it, it didn't work, and you just highlight it, hit F8, it worked. there's a reason it didn't work initially, and
That wall's there for you to go sit in the corner and think about what you did or what you're about to do. Ha.
All right, so now we have the cert, but it's only one that we can just sign with. It's not trusted anywhere.
Okay.
For that one, what we want to do is group policy, where we could basically take the cert that you have, or probably I should export the one we've got.
Good call.
Export. We're not exporting the private key, because if you do, then that means anyone can use that to sign. So we
Assuming they have the password. But
yeah
Yes.
yeah. So we're not exporting the private key, and we're just keeping the defaults.
Yeah. Only Jordan wants to be able to sign scripts with this certificate.
Yeah.
So, while he's doing that, the other part that we're going to show you after this is once you have this, because he's getting prepped for it to be able to pass off to group policy via Active Directory's group policy, but he has this cert now. He can use that to sign his scripts already.
Yep.
And we're going to show that here in a moment.
Okay. Actually, yeah. Before we push out, we can show
Sure.
the signing. 1 second. This is another one where I'm just gonna copy and paste.
Better safe than sorry.
That's right.
You might be familiar with this. You might have seen it online. It's the command set authenticode something or other.
Yeah, set authenticode signature.
Signature,
You're
yeah.
pointing to, except for it's not test.ps1. What did I name it? Trustworthy?
Yeah. I don't trust it.
But it's in the title. And the last one, you're using the get child item for where the cert is, and you're basically specifying it's code signing cert, and you're using that to sign.
What does that little bit do by itself? If you were to highlight that whole bit of code there, what does that do?
Well, I'm going to have to do a better job of highlighting.
If we just run that selection, just to show you guys what this is doing.
F8 just for selection. So it pulls in the entire cert, and then by the brackets there, we're basically grabbing the information we want for signing it.
Yeah, the first certificate there. So now, I wanted to show this because you could actually use pipe this to get member and see that we're actually getting a particular cert object here. That's why we're using get child item, as I mentioned before, because we're navigating the cert store just the same way we would any other via the PowerShell providers. We're just getting that object so that you can use that in the parameter for this command set authenticate signature.
Yep. So now if we run just that line, and we get an error apparently. Did I misspell trustworthy earlier? Because it says that it was not found.
Perhaps.
Spelled there.
Is that the correct desktop? Jordan Hammond?
Nope. So that's why I don't copy and paste everything.
Yes, and try to run it live. Woohoo! So yeah, this is kind of, there's nothing up our sleeves at this point because clearly we're doing stuff.
But just so you know, that worked great on my computer.
I bet it did.
Yeah. All right, so we got here status unknown error.
Yes, we do.
But if we reload that the script there, you can see it did in fact add the signature.
Awesome. So what does this unknown error mean?
Basically, that means it added the signature that we had there, but it doesn't recognize it yet as a trusted certificate.
Oh.
Because it's in our personal, but we haven't added it to where it needs to go.
Okay. Well, let's figure out how to do that.
All right. So for this one, this is where we go to group policy.
Side note, while he's doing this, if it could be done via group policy, please use group policy typically.
Yep.
I'm just going to call out, it's a great tool. Don't use PowerShell for everything when you can use group policy.
All right. So now we go into sign some crap and some crap. Computer config, policies, Windows settings,
Yeah.
security policies, and then
Public key policies.
public key policies.
Yeah. We found it.
Yeah, we found it. So within that one, these are basically all of your cert stores.
Yeah.
We need to make sure this is a trusted cert.
Okay.
So trusted root authority. Now, to be clear, if you're going to put it in there, make sure you really trust it.
That sounds like an obvious statement.
Yeah, because right now we just have some idiot up here in the yellow shirt signing stuff, and for some reason they're going to say I can say whether it's trusted or not.
And he's pushing this out via group policy.
Yeah, so it will go everywhere. All right, and then we got the cert there.
Yep.
All right, and so this makes it trusted, but there's another area. Like if you run this, if you push that out there and run it, the first time you run a script, it's going to say, "Do you trust this?" And you can hit always accept from this cert or not.
Why is that?
Just because while it is the trusted root authority, this specific one is not a trusted publisher yet.
Oh,
When you said always allow, it moves it to trusted publishers. To kind of skip past that, we're going to load the same cert into trusted publishers beforehand. That way you don't have to go and run something once and hit always trust.
I like it. I like making things easy on me so that I don't have to go think and answer people's questions when things break.
So now with this one, it should push it into both locations. So it is trusted. It won't ask. It won't pop up the thing, do you trust this one? And it should go that one. But to see if it works, it's first on this one here. Let's do a GP update. Or maybe I should link the group policy.
If you want it to apply, yeah. That's
All right, so we're just going to go here to web computers and link, sign some crap and some crap.
So should we show before we push it out? Should we show that it's going to fail, or are we going to show it's fail if it succeeds?
Oh well, we did show. So let's do the get dash authenticode signature.
Okay. Wherever you put it.
Users.
Yeah, he's going to go find it again. He's not going to type in Jordan this time.
Yeah, because I've learned from my mistakes.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, though, I mean, we're creating a self-signed certificate here. But many of you probably have certificates that were purchased from an actual trusted authority, or, as Jordan mentioned, has one just an internal CA, certificate authority. Any of these work. In fact, if you have one that you paid for that's trusted from someone, fantastic, use it. If you're allowed to use it, I mean, use it. If you need to have an internal CA and push things up, do it that way and actually have, a cool little hierarchy going on. But in a pinch for stuff that we're doing, this usually works for us.
It's just for a way if you're limited on your resources and permissions, this is a good way to make it so your stuff can still be secured and sent out. All right, so we reran the get command and it still shows as unknown error, which means if I come in and run this one, apparently it's going to run because reasons.
This is great.
Let's go take a look at our certs and see if I somehow already pushed it out there. Nope, it is not. That's trusted people. Trusted publishers. And it's already there.
It is. It's magic how that works.
Did we run one earlier and I hit yes?
I don't remember, but did you already link the GPO?
I did, and the GPO could have just pushed. Isn't it weird how when you want GPO, it's going to take 3 hours, but when you think you got time, 3 seconds?
It's amazing.
Well, all right, well, we'll go ahead and delete that one out of trusted publishers, and we'll prove that I'm right, kind of.
I'm crossing my finger for him mentally.
Yep. So not in trusted publishers, and since it is getting to this point, that means the GPO absolutely did apply instantly, because why not?
So why don't we just show him, let's not run this, and then do a GP update to show that it's pulling down and it runs well.
Yeah, so we'll do the run once, so now just to show if we run it again, still pops up.
Does not put it into trusted publishers.
Yep. That's not as an administrator.
Yeah, stuff. But this is something that you're likely going to encounter if you want to set the AllSigned execution policy across your entire network or domain or whatever you want. So, or say someone else in another department that's managed by another person or people, they might already have that enforced for you, and this might be the only way that you can actually get sign scripts to run. Yep. So, something to be aware of. I mean, everybody has a different situation to take care of.
So I go and refresh, and the policy applied, and it's back in there.
And what happens if we run our script?
What I hope happens is that it runs. There we go, and it is not a virus.
Correct.
But this is still a local one. What if we move this over to a different computer?
Let's see what happens.
Script.
I want to see what happens anyway.
Just move it out there.
Right.
So just because I'm going to assume that the group policy won't actually apply on this other machine for many hours, I'll just force it right away.
Nothing. Just go ahead. Go for it. I mean, there's not much to see. I was just going to say, let's center this a bit. But really, we're just typing
just a
GP update.
GP update, yeah, so it should be.
So
pretty good. All right. And what we're going to do is we're just going to assume the cert's applied and just go ahead and run it.
What could go wrong? Right?
Well, it's been signed, Chris.
Oh, I didn't sign it.
I didn't size this one in the oh, perfect. That's a freebie. All right, so now we come in here. We want to run not a virus or trustworthy, but if we run Jordan didn't clean up the desktop after his last webcast.
But it is cleverly named.
It is cleverly named. That one will not run because that one is not signed.
Yeah, well, see.
And now it's because we built the cert on a different machine, I can't even from here just sign that script and run it. It has to go to the machine where we built it because we applied it to the current user on that box.
Right. That is where you have the private key available. Like the cert is available unless you export it with the private key to hand off to somebody. You're not going to have someone else be able to sign it.
Yeah. All right. So we have. I guess should we show the set in the group policy where we can show where they can set their execution policy?
Yeah. Pull it up.
All right. Let's do not best practice, and we'll just edit the one we already built, and we'll put multiple unrelated settings on one policy.
Whoa, wait. I thought it was common to put all my settings into one group policy.
Yeah, you want to put it all on the default because that's the default, and you want those to be your default settings.
If this isn't exaggerated enough, don't do that.
Yeah.
While he's pulling it up, though, I mean, do you have any
questions?
Yeah.
Dear PowerShell gurus, can I use run command with PowerShell if my execution policy is set to AllSigned? Sincerely, Timo S.
You know, I've never tried to run a command.
When you say run command, you're talking about run a command prompt command? So in other words, a batch file that might be run?
So if it's something you type out and run as its own, yes. If you save that run command as a script, not without assigning that script.
Let's go try it. We can pull it up and see what happens. Essentially, though, if I understand what you're asking properly, running the remote command but using the PowerShell option in PDQ inventory, that effectively runs, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, you or Colby, but that runs very similar to the install step of PDQ Deploy package and should be able to use signatures.
Well, I think it actually runs more like the PowerShell step. I haven't explicitly tested this, but what you may run into is an encoding issue because when, at least in Deploy when I tried this yesterday, it saves what you type into the PowerShell step window as UTF-8 with BOM, and VS Code by default uses like Windows 1252 encoding,
Right.
and so having different encoding will mess with the signature. So you want to make sure that when you write your script that it's in the correct encoding.
Good call. And if it's expecting a byte order mark and it doesn't have one, things are going to be bad. If it's not the right encoding, it's going to be bad, as it sounds like experience. Thank you for pointing that out. That's fantastic.
More people need a Kobe robot.
They do.
It is.
Ours
handy.
is not for loan.
Yeah, we need it. It's so and that one I think the answer is if it is a script you're running that is running it within the script, the PowerShell script either way has to be signed.
Yeah, so essentially kind of distilling that even further. So when you're running a remote command, be it from PDQ inventory or any other mechanism, whatever ultimately gets run on the target machine, whether it's a command prompt running a batch file or the PowerShell, PowerShell the engine running a PS1 file, if the target machine is configured a particular way, it's going to be enforced that particular way. Now, as Jordan mentioned earlier, for execution policy, if you have, for example, AllSigned defined for the current user or local machine scope, we bypass that with the PDQ Deploy and PDQ inventory, and we use the bypass process scope. That will make it so that doesn't have to necessarily be signed. But if you do enforce that at a higher level, like we talked about with the group policy, you absolutely have to have it signed. And then be aware of what Colby pointed out with the encoding.
Yep.
So, good question, though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and so just for, I guess we're going to showcase setting up the execution policy on the machine. So we go in computer policies, administrative templates,
Yeah.
Windows components. I'm absolutely not just reading this if that's what you're thinking.
I never would think that.
I took notes. All right, so you have in there turn on script execution.
You just click this. Well, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. Cool.
So in there, so if you enable this, you basically have allow only signed scripts, allow local scripts and remote signed, or allow all scripts.
So top is all signed, middle is remote signed, bottom is unrestricted.
Unrestricted. Do not. Do not. No.
I can't think of good reasons to. You might have a good reason. That's cool. That's fantastic. You know your environment best. Just, deep breaths.
All right, so we'll go and reapply that policy real quick, and you can see where it shows up in PowerShell after that.
Sure.
That runs.
While it's updated, do we have any other questions?
Dear Chris and Jordan, if I were to use a signed cert that wasn't self-signed, would I have to add it to trusted publishers in the GPO? Thanks, Ian W.
So, I mean, if it's like using a paid certificate authority, I think those are already included on the levels they need. Well, those will work for. If it's that one, I believe if you build it with the certificate authority within Active Directory, it still has to be, but I'm not 100% on that. I can't get that enterprise admin.
For good reason. Hey, Colby, do you happen to know?
When I was playing around with this yesterday, even just to get the PDQ signed PowerShell that comes with our products to run, I did have to add it to trusted publishers, not the trusted root authorities, because that's already trusted by the hierarchy. But I did have to add it to the trusted publishers.
Well, that might speak to that. Just something to be aware of. Try it. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is you have to add it there, but if it is, depending upon what it is, maybe you don't need to, or whatever the code settings that you have.
If it's already in the trusted root, I think worst case is it's going to pop up, do you want to trust this one? And you hit yes, it's the same thing that we had earlier in it.
Just be aware that if you do that and it's not been trusted yet, but it needs to be, and you deploy that to 100 machines, those machines are just kind of going to hang in a state saying, hey, do you trust this or not? But if it's gone via PDQ Deploy, for example, it's just going to hang in the background. No one's going to respond to it until it times out, and you get a wonderful error back. So
actually, no, it errors out right away.
Oh, good.
It
even better.
complains about the execution policy.
Oh, good. See, even better. See, he actually does research. I don't. I just talk. So.
Right. So, and just I brought up I did have to close the existing window. Didn't apply the machine policy until I restarted PowerShell.
Okay.
But then we have there AllSigned for machine policy. Now, nothing that is going to take priority over everything.
So even if you remove the other execution policies, or change them or do something.
And now if you run something on the process, it's still going to require that it's signed.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
This is good.
Do we have any other questions?
Dear Chris and Jordan, can you show where to configure group policy to require signed scripts? Sincerely, Brian Austin Green, husband to the lovely and slightly talented Megan Fox.
Apparently I just enforced that one instead of edit it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Bad news. But we'll just rewind time here a bit, because you probably asked the question before we talked about this.
Yep.
But
So,
just to show you.
I'm pulling up on the report right now, but it is config, policy, administrative templates, components, Windows PowerShell, then it's just the execution policy there.
That's it.
If you want user specific instead of computer one, just instead of the computer config, go to the user config.
Yep.
But everything else should be the same.
Super easy, and then apply however you need to. Good question.
Let's do a speed round.
I'll try.
And let's kick off the speed round with Danger Dave. He'd like to know, how can you use PKI to protect secure strings that need to be saved to disk using AES encryption? LMNOP.
So once upon a time, I'd actually use DP API, just because that's really simple to do in PowerShell. When you have your secure strings, whether it's stored in some variable or something or other, you can actually export that multitude of ways, including the export CLI command, export
CLI XML.
CLI XML command, thank you, which has that all bundled together. So if you have a credential object that you want to have that includes the secure string for the password, it's all tied using DP API. But in the case here, you want to use AES and make it portable. I actually have a blog on this, for doing this for credentials. It's the same concept. You can use AES to encrypt that and make it portable, if that's what you're talking about. But using PKI, I don't know. I like this the path of least resistance. This is the direction I go because the tools are immediately available. But PKI, any thoughts, Colby?
I remember seeing something. I think it was in the PowerShell Slack.
Yeah.
But this was months ago. I don't remember the exact command, but I think there is a way to use certs.
There is. I don't remember off the top of my head. I was hoping you might. But for example, like the stuff that's available built into PowerShell, if you pull up PowerShell somewhere, if you just do, what is it? Git command and then the module PKI. There's a PKI module that comes. That's actually what those commands we were using to create a new self-signed certificate actually was part of.
That?
Nope. I think it's just called PKI.
Okay.
Here's all the commands that are available here in the PKI module. Take a look at them. You can go look at the help for them. You can go Google the help for those to find out if you can solve exactly what you're looking for. But I do know that in some cases, the underlying .NET classes that are being used for many of these commands, they don't always expose the full capabilities that class can actually do. That blog that I just referenced for the credentials and secure string doing stuff with that, one example of this is if you use the PowerShell commands to create a credential and to do all this fun stuff, you cannot use salts at all. But if you actually go via the .NET route and actually reference the class directly via .NET, and that's a whole different webcast to get into, but if you do that, you can actually create it with a salt and go that route. So if it's not available, what you're looking for is not available in any of these commandlets, you might look at the .NET classes, because I'm pretty sure, just like Colby said, that there is availability for this. I just do not recall off the top of my head.
Okay.
So
I'm going to continue nodding dumbly like I can contribute.
Dear Chris and Jordan, is there a way to automate refreshing self-signed certs in Windows Server? Sincerely, ASB.
So like after they expire?
you can keep on I mean, you can write a script around it, but I don't know if you're asking for if there's a built-in way to do this. I do not know the answer. Is my response. I don't know. Do you?
Yeah, no. Well, we pushed out to the group policy. You'd have to update that policy with the new cert every time.
Right,
so
but
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
But I know that stuff like encrypt now or let's encrypt or whatever it is. They do have a method for them to do the auto refresh stuff. Presumably, there's some way to do that with Windows Server for self-signed ones as well. I know that, I don't know if I'm looking at Colby over here to see if he has any ideas, but I'm still talking. You can write a script around this to do it yourself and to check for expired certs or expiring certs and just get ready to replace them. But do you have any thoughts?
Well, something to keep in mind with a code signing cert is that an expired code signing cert is not like an expired HTTPS cert.
Yeah.
Your script will still run after the cert expires.
You just can't sign anymore, right?
Yeah, you just won't be able to sign any new scripts.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'm sure you can automate it, but I don't know. If you're getting to that point, I'd say set up the a certificate authority.
Yeah.
Also, maybe set your expiration higher, because the default on this is 1 year. Maybe set it to 3 years or something.
Yeah. Honestly, the CA authority is probably going to be the best route because you can actually make it so that, say you have a developer security group or, multiple security groups, you can make it so that people can not only request certs, I mean, they can enroll in them, they can customize how they pull those down or create them.
Yeah,
so
I didn't see any attribute within the command itself to set it up to auto refresh. So
I'm sure there's not. But yeah, that's a great question. If you find out something that you're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, shoot it over. We'll broadcast that. Maybe we'll mention it on the next PowerShell webcast or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey there, Chris and Jordan. Our antivirus blocks PDQ deploy scripts even though the actual script is signed because PDQ uses a wrapper.ps1 file. Any ideas? Thanks, David S.
Your antivirus blocks it because it uses wrapper. Is that verified? Is that assumption? I mean, is that an assumption saying that because it's using one script to call another script, oh my goodness, malware, because, a lot of malware actually does something similar ways. So I do not know. I mean, it's sort of basically whitelisting the locations where these run. If there's some sort of heuristics in your AV program that you cannot configure to say, hey, these are okay, I do not know. Maybe reach out to the vendor and see if there's any options. I don't know. Thoughts? Anybody?
I can't think of
anything. Yeah, I'd say maybe see if you can whitelist us as a trusted publisher, kind of like what you do in the certificates. See if you can tell your AV that anything from PDQ.com is A-OK.
Yeah. Does the AV use your search for that, or does it just make assumptions based on? I'm not.
Well, so a lot of antivirus and anti-malware stuff, they just look for patterns, right? Because they don't know all scripts that exist out there, and so one of the common patterns is to have a small little script expand or run something else to do other things, and that way you can't see what's going to happen necessarily.
Yeah.
And so ours, since we do have the wrapper, as was mentioned, it wraps for error control stuff to bubble back up to our products, but then it can feed in, say a user script. And so there is kind of that same structure. So I can see how an AV thing would say, that's kind of weird, but I'd be surprised if there's not a good way to whitelist it. So, but that's going to be unique to each vendor, I'm sure.
Dear Chris and Jordan, how do I force deploy to run PowerShell as ise.exe as default and not PowerShell.exe without converting to a standard package? Sincerely, A.
I'll admit this. I'm really confused.
Yeah.
Why that does that? ISE is more of an interactive thing, whereas PowerShell is in the background. You can run that regardless of having an actual user shell. I honestly am not sure.
Yeah, so is it basically the ISE is they basically wanted to pop up? Are they looking for user input or?
I don't know, and if that's the case, ISE doesn't matter because you can just load .NET libraries and then say, oh, let's build a form, boop, and then do it that way. But I'm curious to know more about what the purpose is, because it sounds to me like this is not the right direction to go. There's probably a more efficient way to do what you probably are intending to do, but I'm curious because, I mean, hey, everybody has different situations, and maybe for all I know, there's something weird about that.
I suppose if you want to send in that with a bit more what you're trying to do, we can absolutely take a look at that, see if we can't come up with a solution or a different avenue that can work for you.
Yeah, I'm curiosity killed the Chris here. I'm very curious as to why you would change that to point to the ISE.
He said the ISE solution was the solution from his AV team.
Oh.
I'm still not wrapping my head around why that's a solution. If the AV team, are they just basically saying that, hey, since I'm running this interactively now, which the ISE is an interactive wrapper for the PowerShell engine, we can go into a whole different thing around the host, PowerShell host stuff, but we're not going to. I'd be curious to know why that's a workaround. Like, what does the ISE do that's different? It's a different host for the PowerShell engine, but that's about it.
It says if we change the ise.exe, we can run scripts that are otherwise blocked by silence.
Silence. Okay. Well, I'm going to I'll throw this out here. I'm stumped at this because that's bizarre. The only thing it's saying there is it's just because the ISE is an interactive host. But I mean, it's still running. It's a PowerShell engine that's running via this different host. It should be able to do that via PowerShell. That sounds like silence needs to.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they would block one and not the other when the result is the same.
Or is that I'm assuming it's just because, like, if you were to go run the same script on a target, pull up a PowerShell window, does it run? Not run the script, without a window, but if you pull up PowerShell window, does it run? Because that's interactive. You're actually pulling up that host interactively at that moment. But one of the things that we have is, what is it? There's a parameter for PowerShell.exe that is the no interactive. Is there something there? You might fiddle around with that and see if you can change that to remove it. I can't remember if we by default. Let's pull it up. Let's pull up we'll look. Let's create a new package. Hey, you have one. Cool. And we'll actually show you what I'm talking about here. Is let's create a PowerShell step or something, or an install step or something referencing some PowerShell. So right over here, if you highlight over that, we are already doing the non-interactive for one of the parameters for calling PowerShell. Try removing that and see if that works. I know this isn't going to necessarily fix it for packages we have in the package library, but I'd be curious to know if this is going to help, regardless, without changing it to ISE. But yeah, hit us up after this. That could be a deep subject that we're already in the speed round, and I've already broke my rules for speed round here. So
yeah, I think that one's going to take a much deeper dive.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know though.
Yeah.
And two more questions in the speed round. How can you recursively sign all PS1 files in a directory? Thanks. A.
So we ran the command set authentication code signature.
Yes.
You can just basically do a for each loop. Yeah. So you grab every file in that thing, and then for each one, set the signature with that path name, and then since it's the same cert you're signing with, the second part doesn't change.
Yeah, and you can for each loop loop it from an array of the files you got. So I mean, if you want to give a quick little thing here, we'll do the snippets in ISE. Where are we? Scroll down to like a for each. So here's the format if you're not familiar with this. In collection, you can define it, your list of files that you want to sign,
Yeah.
and then do what Jordan said.
Yeah,
What Jordan said.
One of them in there should be like a full path. You just want to make sure you're pointing to the full path and then using
Yes.
the cert.
That's it. That's. If you have any issues or run into issues, reach out to us. I mean, we're happy to help. Cool. Is that no more?
Hey there, Chris and Jordan. Our final speed round question. Can you explain why allowing unsigned scripts is dangerous if you're the only admin and all users are unprivileged non-admins? Thanks, Adam.
So risk, I'll jump in here. I'm already jumping in here. Dangerous is relative to your situation. We call it dangerous because in many environments we've seen that people do have admin access, but there are plenty of dangerous commands that can run with unprivileged access. It's all a matter of what is acceptable risk to you and your environment. If you're okay with people running scripts they download that don't require admin privileges, fantastic. Allow unsigned scripts. That's great. This is just one tool to be able to make sure that there's just an extra step along the way that needs to be, taken care of.
Yeah, just not having admin access, it makes it more difficult for them, but you can still take over a lot of your network if they get regular access with it. So if they can deploy anything, they can really expand it from there.
Right, but I mean, just as we called out earlier, I mean, they can go find a script online, and they might not be able to download the script and run it, but they can certainly copy the contents and paste it into an ISE window or into a PowerShell console window and run it. And if it doesn't require admin rights, they can run it regardless of what you have set for your execution policy, because that refers to scripts explicitly. Yeah. So in any cases, I don't necessarily treat the execution policy as a security measure. There's better security measures out there, such as like just enough administration, but this is more of just like an extra stopgap to prevent the accidental, I downloaded and run this because it's a script. But again, that's...
Each environment's unique as your call. It's something that's pretty straightforward to set up, and it does add a little bit of security, but if you don't feel you need it, you don't need to.
In my environments in the past, I don't manage PowerShell here in our environment, but even my old previous life, I honestly didn't enforce scripting or signing because I didn't need to. I was in the same boat it sounds like you're in, so it's all based off what your environment is.
Yeah, even if you leave it undefined, it's still going to require signature for the remote ones.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this gets you started. You can set up some certificates and get your PowerShell a little bit more secure.
Yeah, and sign away. Or not. I mean, determine the things that you need and go do them. So, anyway, I'm Chris.
I'm Jordan.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Ian W. and Brian G., winners of PDQ swag. Please send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we will not see you back here next week due to the Thanksgiving holiday. Happy Thanksgiving, and have a great week.